Well, let's go ahead and start. So, my name is Cheyenne Bryant. I am the program coordinator for the AUC, the Atlanta University Center's Art History and Curatorial Studies Collective. So, the Art History and Curatorial Studies Collective prepares undergraduate students for careers in the arts and the arts related fields. So, housed within the Department of Art and Visual Culture at Spelman College, this innovative program aims to shape the future of the art world and position the AUC as the leading producer of African American professionals in these fields. So, students from Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse College, and Spelman College may enroll as art history majors, minors, or curatorial studies minors. So, as an initiative of the AUC Art Collective, the Early College Program in Art History and Curatorial Studies is a co educational program at Spelman College designed to encourage rising juniors as well as rising seniors in high school who are also students of colors to pursue undergraduate studies in art history and curatorial studies. So, running this summer from June 20th to July 18th, 2025, students, so a cohort of 16 students, spend 4 weeks attending lectures, completing projects, engaging in discussions, and making friends, and more. So the program works closely with the High Museum of Art to introduce students to curators and other art museum professionals. So the EPC, the Early College Program Ambassadors, is a voluntary program for former EPC students who work closely with the AUC Art Collective team to help continue to shape the EPC experience for years to come. So I am exceptionally excited and thrilled to be speaking with 4 students today from the 2024 cohort. So our past summer program cohort, including Roman Wallace, Quincy Robinson, Folasade Onifade, and Khristina Williams. Ambassadors, if you could, please introduce yourselves by restating your name, where you're currently located, and your high school and or college level. And let me admin those people. So anyone's welcome to start.
All right. My name is Folasade Onifade. I'm located in Georgia currently, and I'm a high school student. Uh, I'm a rising senior going off to college uh, after May. Um, and I actually decided that I wanted to go to Spelman primarily because of the program at Spelman. It was just a wonderful experience. So that's why I'm here.
Hi, my name is Roman Wallace. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a senior at Wheeler High School, and I plan to attend Morehouse College.
My name is Quincy Robinson. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm currently a junior and I go to Weaver Academy for Performing Arts and I create visual art full time. And yeah.
Hi, I'm Khristina Williams. I currently am in Akron, Ohio. I go to St. Vincent St. Mary High School, and yeah.
Could each of our ambassadors speak to some of your current academic interests and or different activities that you do during school? So say during classes, any extracurriculars, or any of your future, say, aspirational goals in the school you're currently in?
So I actually am the president of my Black Student Union, and I have a nonprofit, and I also do a lot of work in my community. So yeah.
At my school, I am the president of the environmental club that we lead at our school, and I'm taking a lot of AP art classes, which I feel like have gotten much more thorough and better because of the summer program that we attended, what with learning how to talk more sophisticatedly about art and what the feelings you're intending to express with it. So that's what I'm doing.
Currently, I'm a member of National Honor Society at my school. I take full visual art full time. So right now we are preparing to go into senior year where Folasade just said AP art. So this program really did help me like kind of elevate my ideas and especially with like all the African American history in art that I've learned, I've been able to incorporate that to my ideas in my work too as well. So I'm very excited.
I'm a member of National Honor Society as well. I'm participating in the first AP African American class in my state, and we're preparing for the AP exam in a few weeks. And I also have a nonprofit, and I just had a drive a couple weeks ago.
So as you all can see, we have highly accomplished, already established former students. And as Quincy and Folasade were saying, that their background in this program has lends itself and informed their current experiences. Like Folasade was saying, having learned the correct articulation and language in the early college program has inspired and helped her into her current goals, and same with Quincy. So my next question is, let's go a little bit more specific to the early college program. So why did you apply to the early college program and how did you discover it?
So actually, I am an artist as well. I wanted to expand my horizons, not just about art in general, but about how to curate art and the history of art, which also helped me with my nonprofit and bringing all the tools that I learned from Spelman and bringing it back home so I can educate other people my age.
So the way I found this program was actually kind of like funny. My uncle sent it to me because he had been like hounding me like all throughout like my freshman and sophomore year to go to summer camps and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know. And he sent me this, and I create art full time, but like I had never even like thought of like the curatorial part of art in like museums. For some reason, that just never crossed my mind. So when I was like looking through the application, I was like, this is fire. And I was like, I've never even explored this before. So yeah, it really excited me, which is why I decided to apply.
Like Quincy, the summer that I was applying to the Spelman program, I was being hounded by a lot of my parents and uncles and aunts to do a summer program. And previously, I had done them for different colleges that I didn't really feel very attached to. But my aunt sent me the form to apply to this one. And at the time, I wasn't really interested in art history. I'm a artist myself, but I'm always more interested in the hands-on aspect. So I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it. And I also was applying to the governor's honors uh, program, which also had an art aspect that I thought would be more hands-on. But fate decided for me because I got into like the pre-finals for that one, but I got into this one first. So I just decided to go with Spelman. And honestly, it was probably the best decision I could have made because it was amazing. I loved it. I met a lot of cool people, and I'm still in contact with most of the girls that I met there. It was great.
So I had a similar experience. Prior to the program, I wasn't really an artist or anything, but I'd always been tapped into art. My uncle owns an art gallery, and my mom's always going to exhibitions and whatnot. And so she had me sign up for the Morehouse program and do all the questions and essays. And then I found out we had to stay there for a month. So at first I didn't really want to go, but then after attending the program, it was a really good experience, and it actually made me want to go to Morehouse because originally I wanted to go to Howard, but it shaped my perspective on a lot of things, and it even helped me in school when I started the AP African American class.
Yeah, it sounds like from most of your answers that the program itself maybe kind of exposed you to a different or a new kind of formed opinion on what the art world is. Going back to what Quincy was saying, like, oh, I didn't even know what curation or art history really could be until I enrolled in this course. And it seems like everyone's kind of expressed positive experiences, and the program itself is kind of continuing on into your future career endeavors, which is all wonderful things to hear. So, before completing the early college program, what kind of exposure to art, art history, or curatorial studies, excuse me, did you have? Sounds like most, maybe about half of us were artists, or at least dabbling into making art. But let's talk about the formal profession of curatorial studies. Did anyone have familiarity with it?
Uh, I kind of had a familiarity with African art because my mom has some pieces throughout the house. But like you said, I was never really an artist or anything. I had a clothing brand for a while, but other than that, I wasn't really into art that much.
I had never heard of the curatorial studies profession at all. Honestly, I had never even taken a art history class before in my life. It was all just hands-on art experience, and going in, I wasn't sure what to expect. It was a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
I think for me, I never could see myself dabbling in like curatorial studies, but I was definitely interested, and it definitely caught my eye in different ways. Because when we were there, it was a lot of like hands-on experiences. Actually curating our own exhibition was like exciting but like scary at the same time, because most of us had never done it before, but we ended up being like really good at it. So
Yeah, similar to Folasade and what Christina said. Um, I've been to like exhibitions. I've had a couple at my school, but I had never like understood what curation was, and it really taught me like to have like such a deeper understanding of like why curators like do what they do, and to find relationships between different pieces of art, and to like kind of like put them together to say something new off of what they're already saying. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, thank you for let me admit Cynthia. Thank you so much for these responses. It actually makes me want to skip just a little bit forward to talking specifically about our course. So there's two students. We're talking about the idea of designing exhibitions. So what is that? What is the context for this? So students that are enrolled in the early college program are also enrolled into the Ways of Seeing course. The full title is Ways of Seeing Art History, Curating, and Museums. So this is a 3-credit undergraduate course. You will get 3 credits in art history and curatorial studies, which can be applied towards undergraduate coursework in the art history major and or curatorial studies minor at the AUC Art History and Curatorial Studies Collective. I know that was a bit of a mouthful. So this course is modeled after some of the undergraduate art history courses that students would take if they are enrolled in the AUC Art Collective. And it's meant to be an introductory course. So we teach students, what is the basics of art history? When we walk into a museum, what do we see? How do we interpret a painting? And like Khristina and Quincy were referencing, what goes into exhibitional design? What are the different professionals? What is a curator? What do they do? What even is a conservator? How do they take care of the art pieces and the different kind of artifacts in their collection? So all of this is outlined and laid out for our students, and they also get the opportunity to personally network with professionals and also speak with professionals about what they do to keep a museum and even an archives or a collection or a gallery. Those are also spaces in which you can see art pieces as well. So students will be able to talk to the professionals that keep those spaces running and understand the inner kind of behind the scenes functionality of those spaces. So I want us to talk to our cohort about their experience in the Ways of Seeing course. So what was one thing that you learned or experienced during the Ways of Seeing course that has stuck with you? I know we've already talked about designing exhibitions, but I'm wondering, is there anything else that really caught your eye?
So, yeah, for me, it was actually seeing how a lot of African American art like stands out, and there's so many like different artists that I didn't know about personally, and they're Black artists, and it's so many avenues in art that I didn't know about before. And I just thought, you could be an artist or you could sell it, but you could sell the art and you could not only make the art, but be the middleman in selling and curating the art. Like it's so many avenues that plays a part in how art gets sold, and the networking events that people have to go to for it, the bidding, like there's so much to it than just making the art. But even when we got to see other people making the art, it was beautiful. And I remember we saw this lady, and I actually have her on Instagram. She makes beautiful art and she has her own studio, and she told us her story, and all of that plays a part in how the art world is now. But I agree that we need like more Black representation in the art world.
I also wanted to talk about how many different artists we were introduced to, because personally, I didn't know much of anything about different artists that are different Black artists that were past greats or just currently amazing. I was just doing whatever I felt like, but knowing how many great people I just wouldn't have known about if I hadn't gone to this program. It was eye-opening, eye-opening, honestly. And it was so inspiring for me as an artist because personally, I I still look at the book that they gave us at the end of the course that has a whole bunch of history on different artists and different paintings that they did. I still look at it frequently and reference it when I'm doing art. It was wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Another part that like really stuck with me is just like the conservation, learning about like what goes into like art, and not even art, just like museum documents and artifacts in general, like how people care for it, how like there's people whose their like entire profession is to just like clean, fix damaged artwork documents. And learning about that, it was just like, oh my gosh, I can literally like just do anything. I know that's like kind of really broad, but it's like I had never really like known the diversity of like the art world. Of course, I had known that like it stretched like really far, but I never knew that like there were so many professions, so many branches, so many different ways to just connect something or find art to link it to something that you're interested in. Like those people were connected to chemistry and science, and I mean, it's kind of like clear cut, but for me, it was like really important, and just recognizing that there's so much diversity in this field.
Kind of like what Quincy was saying, I didn't realize how diverse the art world was. At the end of the program, they were talking about um, these different programs Morehouse and Spelman had with all these brands like Stussy, Gucci. And so that was really cool to see. And I remember also learning about different artists, like we'd have talks in class and receive lectures, and it'd just be fun. And I think it was an artist called Tanner, Harry Owasa Tanner, and we just talk about the differences in artists and their backgrounds and how that shapes art and just people's perspective. And the teachers would just ask us what we thought about it, and it was just cool.
I definitely appreciate our cohort bringing up the kind of myth that if you pursue a career in the arts, you will be starving and you won't have a job and you won't make money. That is a myth. The art world is insanely diverse, and there's multiple different ways that you can bridge a career and an interest in art and kind of tie it in with another discipline that you might not ever even think about. Like Quincy said, the idea or the kind of profession of conservation, excuse me, is a bridge between chemistry, science, and art. And conservationists have a major role in caring for collections and also in even, say, kind of arts management, arts administration, and collections care and such. So my next question is, the AUC Art Collective has a partnership with the High Museum of Art. So much of our coursework is actually done at the High Museum of Art. We spend 2 days, Tuesday and Thursday, at the High Museum speaking with curators, also other museum and art professionals as well. So I'm wondering if I could ask our ambassadors, what was your experience like being at the High Museum?
Amazing, beautiful, like with that meme of Lady Gaga where it's like talented, amazing, all of those things. Like I really love museums, and that was the biggest part in just me being like, well, I'm just gonna go because I just feel like I'm gonna be here every day, like every other day. That's just crazy. But being in the museum and also just being in a museum long enough to kind of see like how it slowly changed and just to kind of like yes we were seeing like the same things over and over again, but every time we saw it we could like kind of analyze something differently the next time we looked at it, and then we started to notice like the relationships between the pieces and what they were talking about, and then we started to really see the power of like curators. So I love being at the High Museum. Yeah.
So for me, actually going to the High Museum, it was really great. Like it's not it wasn't like at first it was just a museum, but it was like it had five different floors, and my favorite was the top floor, and it was very interactive, and I got to network with a lot of like famous people in the art industry, and just networking with them and being able to have conversations and them teaching us about things that we never learned before was very inspiring and made me want to go and teach other people about this, because if I didn't know, then I know a lot of other kids our age don't know about the same thing.
Like Quincy said, I just generally love museum spaces. I love looking at the art. I love all of the people who are just watching it and being in that space where it's also like a learning environment where everyone with me is trying to analyze these pieces, where we're all having constructive conversations about them. That was amazing. And the top floor that that Khristina was talking about, that's the contemporary art uh, floor of the museum. And wow, that floor was just amazing because that's the one that changes the most every time we would go in. Uh, I think like last or in mid-November there was a new collection that was brought in, and it was so amazing. I loved it. It was just so good. And beforehand, I live in Georgia, so I had access to the High Museum a lot, but I never had like the I never felt the need to just go, yeah, I should go to the museum today. But now after the class, every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be like, I should go. I'm gonna go to the High Museum right now because it was just so amazing that I just want to be immersed in the space more often. It was great.
So similar to Folasade, I'm from Georgia. I lived right near the High Museum, like 5 minute walk. So I'd be up there a lot. But being there over the summer was definitely a different experience for me because beforehand when I would go with my grandpa, I just be there to be there. But over the summer I kind of looked at it differently, and I was in rooms that I'd never been in before. I didn't know there was like a back room in the basement, and we got to see the different pieces of art, and it was a great experience. And the new collections that come in, like Kehinde Wiley, Radcliffe Bailey, and I'm pretty sure there was the Swiss Beats Alicia Keys Museum collection was just there. So I got to see that as well afterwards.
So, part of your final assignment as a student enrolled in the course during the summer program is having to do an individual presentation on one of the art pieces at the High. So, could you describe what that experience was like for you? I mean, was it fun researching the piece and being able to present it to the class?
Initially, I was nervous. I do a lot of public speaking at school, but my family was there, and there's just a bunch of people staring at me. But researching it, I never heard about the artist before, and I forgot her name, but the piece was the first African American lady and president in the White House. Forgot her name was Mary Proctor. And researching the piece, it was fun to see, learn about her life and the background, and what the piece meant to her specifically. And just when I was learning about it, I talked to my uncle because he's an art curator, and he used to give me advice on curating and like becoming one with the piece and trying to cater to the audience. So it was a good experience.
My piece was called Corn Rose. I still remember it, that piece. Um, and my experience with it, it was really hard, honestly, because my piece was very old, so there wasn't a lot of information to go off about it. So I primarily had to research more about the artist than the piece itself, because there wasn't a lot of documentation on the choices that he made while doing the piece. So it was kind of difficult.
So mine's was actually called "Is Anyone Going to Be Saved" by Tamashi Jackson, and mine's was about I think it was 1948 civil rights registration line and that sort of thing. So mine's was really about like the civil rights era and how she just created this masterpiece of different types of things like the brown paper bag or the actual notes from the time with the registration voters tag on there. Like it was a lot and intertwined, but it was also like a red and blue kind of thing. And I don't know, me personally, it was a lot to unpack, but the research behind it was history that if certain things weren't made, we wouldn't know about it. And that is what kind of interested me about it. And it was also, the lady was from Ohio, just like me. So, like, I could relate to it a lot. And the civil rights era, like, it all tied in super great. But I was super nervous, like Roman said. I never done that before. And it was also recorded. So I was just really nervous about public speaking, but I did really good. And everybody's was really amazing. And some of the pieces were actual, like, it was just a feeling. Like, you can't really explain it until, like, you're there and you're doing it. It's a feeling, and everything was great. Like, everybody's pieces was, like, amazing. So
Yes, with my piece, I had a door similar to Roman's. Me and Romans were actually like right next to each other, going back to like curators like talking to each other and stuff. My artist was Herbert Singleton, and it was depicting a New Orleans jazz funeral. And when I researched it, I actually found like a video of him talking, and I was like, whoa, because he had like a lot of like Christian, just like a lot of solid Christian values. So I saw kind of like this door, and I figured out it was. I interpreted it to be more so a way of like transformation, and how New Orleans they tried to see the joy in death and grief and honestly rebirth. And honestly, it was really fun to just kind of analyze a piece of art that wasn't like, oh, well, they use this composition to because they wanted to put emphasis on da, 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 da. And even though I was doing that too, there was like a deeper meaning. There was a feeling. It was just like more of a connection to it because especially like being like the only Black person in predominantly white spaces, it really felt good to unpack something that like was someone from Black culture or for someone from like a different culture, using their influences and like putting their culture into their work and seeing how like delicate and how like impactful and how like important art really is to different cultures and to educating other people as well.
Yes, thank you. We hear from the cohort that this experience, although it can be a bit difficult, and maybe a bit nerve-wracking, having to do public speaking for the first time, or even having to do intensive research, it is a challenge, but in the end, it's definitely worthwhile. So my next question I want to pose to the cohort is, seeing that this course is for 3 college credits. Was this your first college level course? And if so, how would you describe the workload? And also, as a follow-up question, did you feel supported by your instructor or your TA? Did you have enough kind of help and support during your academic studies?
so for me, when I first started this, it was my first college course, but now I'm taking more college courses. So the workload wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It was normal workload because I was expecting it to be like 5 assignments a day, but it really wasn't that. Um, I felt very supported. Our like teachers, they were like really big in the art industry, which really helped because it wasn't like they never done this before. Like, this is actually their field and they specialize in this. And then we had a class like helper, I guess, and she actually majors in it. So she knows like the college experience, like actually diving into what she does as well. So I felt supported. And when I had questions, like, I didn't feel rushed or I didn't feel stupid or anything. And when we had class discussions, it was very interactive and I really liked it.
For me, it wasn't my first college level class. I've taken a lot of different college level classes, and I had a previous um, summer program at SCAD. But I think that this one was definitely my favorite because the teachers specifically, they were very enthusiastic about what they wanted to teach us. And you can tell when a teacher wants to talk about what they're telling you. So it definitely felt like I wanted to learn and they wanted to teach. So also what Khristina was saying, everyone in the class was very was participating a lot. So it felt like it wasn't just me talking in a empty room. It was very it was just very nice to be in a room with all of my peers who all love this like I do.
Yeah, you two put it really well. The most I remember us doing at Spelman written wise were our readings, which were never long or like tiresome. And then we had she asked us a question that was basically asking us basically for our opinion on what about what we read. But most of our learning experience was primarily hands-on discussions. We took so many field trips and we got to meet so many different people in different fields. We went to Alabama like twice. We learned more so through our experience and like being in different places and seeing what we were reading about. And I really appreciated that versus just like, because I know it can get really tiresome just reading about things, but you know, to experience them is like another thing. And then you actually get a better understanding of what you're studying.
All right, so thank you so much for your answers. Let's go ahead and talk about the application process. So I know some of my audience members, are a little a little nervous about the application process. So I'm hoping maybe you could reassure them or tell them a little bit more about what your experience was like um, putting together your application.
So my application process was actually it was it was a lot, but when I actually got there, it wasn't like how the application process was just really harsh. But then when you actually like get the steps to actually be in the program, it's 100% worth it. And it's not what you expect. It's not difficult. I feel like the application was harder than anything that we did. So I say don't be nervous and you got it. Yeah.
For
I
me,
agree with her when she said the application process was actually harder than the class because I remember it being about 15 questions, and that was probably the hardest process. But it actually gave me like an overview of what the class would be about because I remember one of the questions was something about Barack and Michelle Obama, and then we ended up learning about it in person. So um, it was pretty hard, but it ended up being worth it.
for me, my application process, I actually wanted to talk about this too. Um, I actually applied first in sophomore year, but I didn't get in. So like I did not pass that first round. So I was just like, okay, maybe I'll try next year. So next year rolls around, it's my junior year, and I'm like, this is the last year I can apply, so it's whatever. And I looked back on on my previous writing, and I felt like I had grown more, so I elaborated more on what my writing was. Um, and I did get in that time around. And I felt like what I have to say about it is that don't be discouraged if you don't get in the first time, because there's always next time. And when I got in the program, uh, one of the teachers, Miss Brown, she actually said that she remembered my application from the year before, but she was glad that she could admit me this year because she thought that I had grown a lot from my writing previously. The thing that I would say was the hardest part of the process, it was analyzing the videos for me because I'm not a very patient person, and one of the videos was like 2 hours long, and I just was not feeling like sitting through it, so entirely my fault. uh, that was what the hardest part for me was. Also, I do agree with Roman and Christina that the application was harder than the class itself because I'm a very hands-on person, and just sitting down and writing was is not my strong suit. But the class itself, it was great for me.
Yeah, the application, I got my application the week before it was due. But luckily I was on spring break. So my first tip, if you're completing this application, have a mind of like who you want your recommenders to be. Please don't give it to them like, okay, so this application is due, but the recommenders, they have to do 2 days after. So I'm going to ask them 2 days before. Respect the people that who you are asking to represent you and to give them like the people you're asking to like, give an honest view of your character because that reflects well on you too. For like the actual questions and process, I had a bit of an advantage because I study the art principles, but what was cool was that I kind of like I still had to like apply them in a different sense, just like, okay, well, this thing has like a composition, it's just doing this and that. I had to explain why the artist she chose to do that to explain their point. So, if you get stuck, it's okay. Just kind of just be honest, be honest and make sure you proofread your applications. And another thing I would just say is just time management. I got my application like a week before. I didn't do it all in one day. I didn't try to do it all in one day because that gets like really discouraging. Then you end up not doing because like, oh, I have to do it all. I split up my questions. And then another part that was really hard was just finding all my legal documents. So just make sure you kind of, if it's not letting you go through all the stuff, just like put something there. And then also I did my questions in a Word doc outside of the application because I know that like it automatically saves with like your credentials and stuff every time you open it. But just make sure you have all your stuff in somewhere separate. That way, if you accidentally lose everything, you're not like, oh man, I have to go back and rewrite everything. Anything else that I would like to the videos, yes. I didn't sit through and just watch my videos. I was like doing other things. Like I like to make jewelry. So I was actually like trying to find ways to multitask because that's just how I focus and process information. So if it's like, oh, I can't really sit through this for 2 hours, no, do something else. Draw. Um I don't know, do your makeup, make something while you're doing it, play a game or something. Like just sometimes doing two things helps me focus a bit more. So yeah, those are my tips.
Can I add something? So some tips that I have would be add emotion. Always add emotion to your application because me personally, I feel like they're looking for more so emotion because all art is what emotion do you feel when you look at this piece? And also time management because I thought I wasn't going to have a recommendation because I did it like I didn't know that the application was due because it got brought to my attention like at the last minute, so I was trying to rush everything. But definitely don't do that. Don't do that. Me personally, I didn't really have a choice, but don't do that. And yeah, just add a lot of emotion and know what you're talking about. If you don't know, do research. And if you need more work, that's okay. That's what it's for. Like, that's what this program is for, to educate you on skills that you don't really know. Oh, and teachers, tell them to look over it. And yeah, I think that's about it.
I also wanted to add, don't be afraid to have multiple people proofread your writing. Don't feel like you can't have any help because then it's disingenuous. No, writing is never going to be just you spouting off everything that you feel you need to do. You can have help, you can have other people add context for when you need it because then you have different, unique perspectives that you wouldn't have beforehand.
And I wanted to address a question in the chat. Unique skills and experiences you would bring to the program. What does that response look like? So for me, Um, I think I said that like 3 times. I major art in full time. I create art, so I was like, maybe I can bring that into my experience of like, okay, well, I know these design principles. I know how to use them. I know how to create the art. But like Khristina works with a lot of nonprofits, so she can bring in like how to collab with people. And it doesn't have to be an art skill or like something that you feel like should be your answer. If you're really good at like solving math equations and like calculating, you should say like I can help people understand like how to use these things and bring it to the attention. I can bring my analytical abilities, just honing on like what you do best. And when you're put in like group situations, when you have to collaborate with people, what role do you find yourself doing? If like me and Folasade were working on a project together, she was like, I'm the execute person, and I was the ideas person. So I had the ideas. She was like, okay, well, here's the plan to do the idea that you want. Just focus on what you like do when you're put in like group projects and situations. And yeah.
Yeah, to echo all of our students, I would definitely say first and foremost, be yourself, you know. This is a challenging course, and I won't disagree that the application itself does not have its own difficulties. But like all of our students said, the most important part is honesty and transparency. This is for a lot of people the first time that they're interacting with art history and curatorial studies. You're not necessarily going to know the most perfect, correct language. That's okay. This is a good starting point. What we're really interested in as somebody who is reviewing the applications and that is going to be working with students throughout the duration of the summer program is your curiosity. Is this a field that you're interested in learning more about? It doesn't even necessarily have to be a field that you're kind of married to, right? That you're definitely going to pursue when you finish your undergraduate degree. We're really just interested in this point in your life, how can you kind of be influenced and inspired by a summer course like this? And please, like Quincy said, make sure to be diligent with time management. Leave yourself enough time. And like Khristina said, let your peers, your teachers review your applications. And as always, if you have any questions for me or Miss Brown or Dr. Cheryl Finley, or even the instructor or the TA that you may later meet, that was a bit of a tongue twister. Please feel free to reach out and don't hesitate to ask for help and support. We're here for you. All right, so how about we do our last question and then we will give it to the audience members. I know some audience members were already typing in the chat, but we also want to reserve some time if anyone would like to speak up. So my last question for our alumni is, okay, so pertaining to your future plans and advice that you would give, what advice would you give to a future high school student considering joining and enrolling in the early college program?
I actually wanted to speak on this one too. I definitely would recommend it. It's a free program. You get free housing. You will get food. Everything that you need is there. And it's just a wonderful experience. You'll make friends that you'll keep in contact with for a long time. I definitely would recommend it. I recommend my friends to apply all the time. They're probably tired of hearing me say it because I keep telling them to. But I definitely would recommend it. There's no reason not to, honestly.
Yeah, like I agree. I even met friends who were in different programs that I still keep in contact with to this day. And I also have friends in the program that I still keep in contact with to this day. And I know when I go to Spelman that I'm still going to have that connection. And it's not even just the people you meet, it's about the things that I learned about myself. And it's an eye opener experience, to say the least. And it doesn't even have to be a bad thing because when you're learning about yourself, there's so many things and avenues and ways that you can go. And that was the exciting part, because there were people who liked business, there were people who liked to debate, there were people who liked art, there were people who didn't like art, there were people, like, there were so many different people around me, but it was also so small that I had the opportunity to go discover those different possibilities and those different avenues.
Yeah, listen, like Christina hit the nail on the head, bro. Like, um, one thing about this experience, like artist side, like it challenged my character a lot. Um, and you know, challenging your character isn't always bad. It really helps you grow as a person. It was really the first time it wasn't the first time I lived on a college campus, but it was the first time where I was like, "Ooh, I'm fully on my own. I'm not around anybody in a whole nother state." Um, there's a lot that goes with that. And, you know, just don't let fear completely take over you. A lot of things are just going to be scary just because they're new and you've never done them before. But, you know, that's also exciting because, you know, you get to grow from this experience, even if you like, oh, I really shouldn't have done that, or, oh, I feel like I don't think that was the best decision, you know, apologize. Just you get every day. I made it sound like very like intensive, but it's really not. It was just a lot for me personally because I had never like been like a month like alone before, not that long. But yeah, definitely recommend it. Don't be afraid about the fact that it's going to challenge you, because challenges are like really good and they help you grow a lot.
Piggybacking off what other cohorts said, it was just a really good program. I'm in Jack and Jill as well, so there was the Jill program on campus. So I saw a lot of people I already knew in the other ECP programs. But some advice I could offer would be leaning on an alumni. I actually was referred by an alumni who was in the program. He went to Morehouse as well. Christian Bryan is his name. So you all ever want to reach out to any of us, I'm sure we'll be free to give you all our contact information.
All right, audience members, for the sake of time, I also want to respect if anyone has to leave. This conversation was scheduled to end at 6:30, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. But in the last 4 minutes or so, if anyone wants to propose a question to our cohort, Chloe, go ahead.
Okay, so I heard that a sister went to SCAD. I need to know, what was your experience at SCAD?
So you know how there's the Savannah SCAD and the
Yes.
Atlanta? I went to the Atlanta SCAD, so I can't speak on any of the experiences of people who went to the
Yes,
Savannah.
I went to the Atlanta one too.
Oh my gosh. So that experience, honestly, I didn't like it as much as I like this one because it was a shorter experience, but it also felt like we were uh treated less like I'm gonna say that they were holding our hands throughout the whole thing. While this one, we were mainly left to our own devices when we weren't in class because everything's very enclosed. There's a gate around the campus. But for the Atlanta SCAD, it was very I felt like we were a little bit babied because we couldn't go into other people's rooms. We couldn't like hang out anywhere else other than the cafeteria for a long time. It was less free than this one is. That's what I'm getting.
Okay, because I didn't get to go into the dorms. So a lot of things were happening, so I wasn't able to get into the dorms. But it's really nice to hear your experience. Yeah, because I just was really curious. Also, what was
Still good.
Yes.
The classroom experience, that was very nice. That one was very good too. I loved
Repeat that.
The classroom experience was very good at SCAD.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Let me not go on a rant about SCAD, but I'm going for animation.
Okay. Okay.
But what was your favorite part, though, of this program?
My favorite part definitely was the field trips because I just like field trips. We would go to a lot of different museums around Atlanta and around Savannah. It was very good. We met a lot of different curators, and we went to a conservation lab that had uh, paintings and stuff and books and stuff that they were conserving and trying to preserve. And we learned about a lot of different professions. That was my favorite because as an artist, I thought that it was just art. You make art, you sell art, and that's that. But there's just so many other things that you can do. So that was my favorite.
Yeah.
How was the dorm life slash experience? Um, I particularly enjoyed it because Sundays they like let us be like they literally did not bother us like at all on Sundays. Like I think we had like maybe one thing on a Sunday that one time, but the dorm life was like actually my favorite part because I had like for the most part like freedom. Like we had class, but we only had like one class, so we was in there for like 2 hours. Sometimes we would be in there before and after lunch, and we have to come back. Um, but and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays we went to the high, of course, so we didn't get back to like 3 or 4. But I really liked just like being able to like manage my time because I feel like with being in high school, you're in school, you have to prepare to go to school. You're in school, gotta go home, or you gotta do something after school. You get home late, and then you have all these things to do. But here, like, it really teaches you, okay, well, I have all this freedom. So now what do I do with my time? Now what do I do and how to manage with that? Okay, I want to go over here and I want to hang out with them. So um how can I do my work before I do that? Or how can we like plan to meet together? We had to meet together a lot of times for doing the group projects towards the end. So it really just teaches you a lot about time management. I enjoyed it. Spelman's campus is absolutely beautiful. Morehouse is too. Spelman's is like very beautiful. Oh my gosh. I loved being on Spelman's campus.
So my experience was amazing. The dorms that we had were like absolutely beautiful. They were huge. We got the senior dorm, so everything was very spacious and we had our own privacy. We shared a suite. So how the suite is set up is a room right here and then another room right here, but they're two separate rooms. But I also had a suite mate, and then we had a dining area, a kitchen, a bathroom area, and then we had a living space area, which was really cool. So it was kind of set up like a apartment, tiny apartment basically. But there were times where like we had races, like we were racing. Um, there were times where we had game nights, movie nights. There were times where we could just hang out. Like it was really cool. Like we really just got the feeling of just being in a college on a college campus and meeting new people and then actually building those bonds and building those friendships, and we all have the same interests. Like it was really great. Also, I would say another tip was just because we have freedom, we don't abuse that freedom. Like, and also those guards they do not play. Spelman guards, they do not play. We had to have our key card like every time we went in there, or we just couldn't go in there, or we would have to be escorted or something. But like, don't abuse that freedom. Always be on time for curfew. Um, Granted, we had our own space. They gave us our space, but they also were there to check up on us. Like we knew exactly where to go when we needed something, when we had issues, when we needed emotional support. Like all of those things played a part in our mental development, but also growing without our parents, like being in a different state for those who aren't in Atlanta, like it was definitely a learning experience to say the least.
Another thing with the being on your own for the first time, when you're in your dorm, don't forget to bring cleaning supplies. Bring a broom, bring Clorox wipes, all of that stuff, because the dorms aren't dirty, but you're going to be living there and you need to keep your space up and you need to be cleaning up after yourself, or else it's just not going to be done because nobody else is there to pick up after you. And you don't want to be the person who's making your dorm mate mad at you. So bring like cleaning spray and a little washcloth or towel that you would like to use to clean up your dorm. It's not that big of a deal, but you should still definitely keep that in mind.
I want to address Jory's question. Was there anything you all took away from the program that you think could help you with your future goals or career? Yes. So for me, learning about ancient and African art and primitive art, and how different African tribes like they didn't view what they were making as art, and there were certain cultural things there that I continue to incorporate into my work. I know I want to make art full time. I know I want to continue to create art. I just don't know where I fit in or where I should go as like an institution, college program, wherever that is. I'm only a junior right now. But it definitely gave me a clearer path on like the art I really wanted to make. Right now I'm preparing for my senior year where I take APR. I really want to address all of the political stuff going on right now with art, and I wanted to use my composition to like create like kind of a commentary with that. And I feel like this experience really showed me that it was possible, and that I always knew you could say things with art, but I never knew like how much stuff has already been said and how much I can pull from it, how many people have been doing it like me. You learn about so many Black artists. Lorna Simpson, I've made a piece just like heavily inspired by her, mainly because it was one of my assignments in like my actual school at home. But I've carried this experience with me everywhere because it's just so influential. Like it's really kind of shaped why I want to create art as a whole, just besides like, oh, I just do this, gave me more of a purpose of what I want to do.
Do we have any more questions in the audience?
Oh, I'll answer that question as well. So I am an artist, but I also want to go to school for political science. So, I like to argue and debate and things like that. So I remember in class we had two artists, and it was just nice to see how the different artists collided between history. So, and just history in general, we learned a lot about our history, like things that you would never like fathom happened in our history that I thought that I knew. Turns out I didn't know anything. So the art and history, like it really it collided heavily. And the connections that I made, I brought back home. Like all the information that I brought home, like it was interesting to see. Like my Black Student Union, they loved all like the artists, like the different types of artists, the history that art holds between paintings and everything. Like there's a whole spectrum between art, and I didn't know that before, but without art we wouldn't have history at all. So art itself is something unique, and it's a feeling, and you can't really explain it. Like, and another thing that's really great about art is it's all about what you feel. And it's interesting to see how the artist builds a story in a picture, in one little picture. So, yeah, take that how you will.
Chloe, I see that your hand is raised. Was your question answered, or do you have another question?
Oh, I have another question. I'm wondering, do y'all do like animation, or do you look at any subjects on animation?
So it really actually depends on what is being exhibited in the city of Atlanta or nearby. So since our course is more specific on, say, fine arts in a museum or archival or library spaces, animation, if there is a exhibit that lends itself to animation, we of course want to include it. But I know in the past, say we take day trips or field trips to the SCAD Fashion Museum, or there's another museum, the MODA, the Museum of Fashion and Design, or no, the Museum of Design and Art, I believe, is the abbreviated, or is the full title of it. They had a exhibit in the past on game design. And they also had an exhibit in the past on pasta, like different types of pasta and the history of pasta. So if there were to be a exhibit specific on animation, say at the SCAD Fashion Institute, in their museum, and our team together, our leadership team, as well as the instructor, wanted to bring students there, or to have a day specifically focused on animation, then that would be a case in which, yes, there would be.
Yay!
Yes. And also, we have students with their own diverse backgrounds. So if you wanted to talk to the instructor and if they approved, perhaps you could bring animation into one of your individual projects, or your own um, kind of role in a group project. We really try and heighten and emphasize everyone's own individuality and their own creative backgrounds.
Also, another thing, how good is the food?
Very good.
I
Incredibly good.
Yeah, I
It's so
listen,
good.
Fried
I
chicken
know.
Wednesdays. Oh,
Yes, girl,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
good.
listen, y'all gotta hear me out. I'm sorry, like I sound like a big back, but like the food over at NYU, like it was terrible. Like I had to buy my own food. It was just like those cooks in the kitchen, they were depressed. They were depressed.
Yeah.
there's a lot of options, and Wednesdays is gonna be your best friend.
Okay.
I
Yep.
swear.
And they also have vegan options as well. So, and it's not just like, oh, well, we're just gonna give you guys tofu. Like they have vegan options that mimic that are look they look like regular food, but like they're vegan options, and anybody can buy them because they make them in enough to where like the kids that are there over the summer, because there's other summer programs too. You can just get the vegan option if you're feeling curious, and they're like, oh, I didn't never want to try this. So it's really homemade cooked food. I was like, bro, I really love. That's really another reason why I loved it as well, because it's just like fresh cooked food every day. That's crazy.
Okay.
But
Was it like SCAD?
Yeah, their food was okay, but there wasn't as many options. It was okay, yeah. But the
Thank you.
food at Spelman, oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Making me
I also
hungry.
would say, I also would say though, like also bring your own snacks and stuff, because if you miss lunch, then that's on you. Like there's specific times designated for like lunchtime, and they close at a very specific time. And if you miss it, and they're very strict. So if you miss that, then you're SOL.
also
Also,
another
there are days where you can go to the store with the group, or that the bus will take you guys to Target and you can buy anything that you need. I think those were on Saturdays most of the time. Uh, yeah. So if you need anything, you can buy it. Also, you can order like DoorDash or something to the front of the gate. You will have to go meet them there because they cannot come in. They can't come in. So
And then one last thing, Chloe. I know you're really interested in animation from what I've gauged by your questions. One thing I just say is just like don't be so tunnel vision to where you're not like looking for like other opportunities or other like ways to incorporate it back, because it's not just so okay, well I want to do this one thing and I think I want to do this one thing, because I also used to like it's not just because I wanted to do animation when I was younger. It was also mainly just because like I was like really stubborn, and I just didn't really want to like open up and see like, okay, well, what is this like? I don't understand. But you know, like just don't be afraid to open your mind. Don't be afraid. It's like even if it's not something that okay, well, I don't feel like I don't think I'm gonna really create art after this. I don't feel like I'm gonna really go into an art field after this. Take what other things you learn from this experience, like how art tackles history and how art communicates history, and incorporate it back. You know, animation is such like a beautiful medium of storytelling and design, and you know you'll learn a lot about how design impacts like social change and like just communicates different narratives of different people through their art as well. So there's always things you can relate back to animation.
Like, oh my
And
God, I love history, like for real, for real. Like, I could tell you like the whole history with animation and just like the full on irony. But you know, it's almost time. I can't, but I want to.
I would like to add one more thing for you. If you really are interested in art and are interested in like having the community while you're there, uh, we in the program, as the students in the program, we personally sought each other out. And like after lunch, we would sit outside and we would draw together and we would paint together. So even in class, you may not do any art, but outside of class, you will have a lot of time to yourself to do basically whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for attending this wonderful panel discussion. And thank you so much to our cohort and former students and alumni who just shared how unique and wonderful this experience was for them. And I hope you don't mind, we did go a little bit over time, but hopefully it was worth your while and we got to learn a little bit more about this experience. So I'm gonna ask my cohort to stay for just a minute longer if that's okay. But thank you so much, audience members. This video will be recorded, and if you have any other questions outside of this, if you wanna hear a little bit more about the nitty and gritty aspects of the program, feel free to join our next and last info session. It's gonna be held next Tuesday, so March 25th at 6 p.m. EST. And you're welcome to RSVP via our Eventbrite page, and I'm going to post that really quick in the chat.
Yes, I would lovingly go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Immediately up.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Y'all have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are really great.
You're welcome,
Let
of
me
course.